Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. So a few weeks ago I did 20 90s albums that are underrated, and you guys seem to really like that video, so I thought I'd keep it going and do the 80s. There's a lot of great albums in here, a lot of blind spots a lot of people don't know about. I got everything from punk to funk to reggae. It's a great list, I think. Before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment below what you think about these or which ones you would have included in your list. And then follow us on Instagram. We got a brick and mortar record store in Matthews, North Carolina, where we buy big collections, recommend records. We have exclusive releases, things like that. So follow us there at Noble Records. Anyways, so when I did my 90s one, I made it very clear that this is not like a definitive list. It's just some that I picked. You know, if you were going to go through every underrated album in the 90s, you'd have thousands, you know, and the same with the 80s. There's even more in the 80s probably. So many different people are in so many different types of music, so it's hard to cover everything. But as I was going through my collection, the ones that I thought were slept on or underappreciated or whatever, those are the ones I picked out, albums that you don't hear the mainstream talk about. Now, some of these are obscure, to where you maybe never ever heard of them, and some of them you might have heard of, but you need to give a second look, you know what I mean? So and I'll go through that in here. First one is just an absolute killer record. Don Blackman. It's produced by Weldon Irvine. If you don't know Weldon Irvine, incredible like jazz funk musician. He had some insanely good albums, but Don Blackman is no exception. He is incredible. Jazz funk, heavy on the funk side. I think this album has been sampled a lot. If you're a DJ or a digger or something like that, you probably know all about this record. The really deep funk type of collectors, they obviously know about this record. It wasn't obscure. It was on Arista, which is a major label, but it's hard to find. You don't ever see it, and I don't really hardly ever hear anybody talk about it. But this is the only copy I've ever found, and it's like just an incredible record. If you like funk or jazz funk type stuff, this is one that you got to check out. This is another one. This is kind of the spectrum of what we're talking about. This is Zero Boys. This is like a punk / hardcore record. Really killer guitar stuff. Now it took me a while to really get into punk. Growing up, I wasn't into it at all. I was just more into like steady rock and roll type stuff, blues rock, stuff like that. And then as I got older, certain albums would be a little bit of a gateway to get me into certain things. And now I'm into all types of crazy stuff. But this is one of those albums that the guitar work kind of drew me in. I wouldn't normally be into punk, but the guitar work is so fantastic on this record that it kind of pulled me into it. So this is not like all out punk. It's hardcore, so it's a little bit more melodic than a lot of punk, but there's a lot of really great guitar work on here. This is an album that I would strongly recommend, even if you don't like punk. If you like good guitar work, this is a fantastic record. Zero Boys, Vicious Circle. Man, this record, I'll look for this record for a long time. If you're watching this and you're not a record collector, you know, you'll get to see a little bit of the inner workings of a madman. But this is The Scientist. The Scientist has a lot of really great albums. This one is The Scientist rids the world of the evil curse of the vampires. Look at the cover on this. You can see just this crazy post-apocalyptic vampire zombie apocalypse. I don't even know. Crazy. But The Scientist had a bunch of really killer albums, and it's reggae. And it's dub reggae. So a lot of people will ask me, you know, we have a record store and everything, will ask me like, what reggae do you recommend? Because all I know about is Bob Marley. Like, that is a very common question. I think people are kind of embarrassed to say, I don't really know anything about reggae except for Bob Marley, you know, because that's kind of most people in the U.S., that's their gateway into reggae. It was mine. It was, you know, it's the way it is. But The Scientist is a different type of reggae. I'd say Bob Marley's more like I don't know, roots reggae type stuff. He had a lot of like kind of ballads and things. There's a lot different than, I don't know, to my ears, it's different than this, but this is like just like really killer dub reggae, lots of good bass, fantastic stuff. I love, love, love this type of reggae. Very good stuff. Check The Scientist out. It's really fun music, and it's like just heavy dub if you're going to the beach or whatever. I mean, it's a fantastic, and you might see how it's different than the Bob Marley type of reggae, but it's still reggae and it's still fantastic. But that's one you don't see very often. And like also Reggae Records original, this is an original Jamaican press. They're really hard to find in good shape because they got partied hard with, and this one's like perfect. I don't even know how that happened. This is Terry Brooks and Strange, To Earth with Love. This is fantastic. Terry Brooks and Strange put out some incredible records, and I don't know why. Like, so if you're not into records, then you probably don't care about this, but some records are worth like a ton of money, and they're like, really rare, and they have this certain sound to them, and we're all suckers for that stuff. But then some records, they sound like $1,000 record, but they're $20, and you're like, why? I don't know. But this is one of those records. It sounds like $1,000. It's killer, and it's like these are maybe like $20. This came out in 1980. There's another one that came out in 1981 called High Flyer that's probably equally as good. Really great stuff. He had some albums in the 70s as well, but this Terry Brooks is somebody you don't hear anybody talk about, and I don't understand why. If you like Jimi Hendrix, it's like Jimi Hendrix on even more acid. It's like out of this world, crazy guitar madness, and I would just highly recommend it. This is a cheap, like, $20, worth getting. This one is Young Marble Giants, Colossal Youth. This is a great record. I found this a few years ago, and when I put it on, it blew my mind. This is more like, I think it's classified as like indie, new wave, post-punk, but it is really, really, really good. It doesn't matter what type of music you're in. It definitely has that like post-punk type of flair to it, but fantastic bass, really cool vocals, great songs. This is one that you don't hear a lot of people talk about. I think it just recently got a reissue, so it should be easy to find. Young Marble Giants, Colossal Youth. It is a great one. Let's see. This is one, man. Whew. Mistreater, Hell's Fire. Oh my gosh, this record is out of this world. This got a reissue a couple years ago. The originals of this are super, super hard to find. This is an original. But it is high energy, face melting rock and roll. Unbelievable. If you like, stuff like Black Sabbath, this is like in between that 70s super heavy, hard rock, acid guitar solo, just madness, and then into like the thrash metal. But it's not quite there to the thrash yet. It's still got that charm of that 70s super heavy Black Sabbath, Deep Purple type of thing. But it's so good. I've talked about this in a few other videos of like underrated stuff. This is one I will always talk about. A lot of people don't know about this record. You can stream it, you can get a reissue of it, but it is a must-hear record if you like guitar solos, stuff like that. This is out of this world, I'm telling you. All right, next one. Another thing that I always try to recommend, like I know, so with some of these videos, my followers that watch a lot of my videos, they might have seen some of these records before, but some of these that I'm just recommending albums, I get visitors, you know what I mean? And if you're a visitor in my home, I'm going to tell you about Zamrock, you know what I mean? So, that being said, next one is the Ngozi Family, 45,000 Volts. Now, this is the first album. It came out in 1977. This is Volume 2. So Volume 2 came out in 1980, so I'm just gonna talk about it. Volume 1, incredible stuff, and I'll kind of explain it later. Volume 2, Paul Ngozi wanted to remix the album, so they're all the same songs. He just re-recorded them. So you might be thinking, I know about Volume 1, but what about Volume 2? Volume 2 is very good. It's a little bit of, I think it's a little bit of a hotter mix. The guitar's a little bit, maybe a little bit crazier, but it's just different. I don't know if you can listen to this anywhere online. I think you probably can. I think somebody's probably ripped it on YouTube, but the one, if you stream it, you'll be hearing this one. Look at the cover on that, man. Unbelievable. So any chance I get to talk about Zamrock is a genre that you may have never heard of. If you've not heard of Zamrock, go to Spotify. Just type in Zamrock. There's playlists. There's a band called Witch that's really, really like the best Zamrock band. There's the GOI Family. There's Salty Dog. There's a lot of really good stuff. But this is one of my absolute favorite Zamrock records. Paul Ngozi is a guitar player on this, and he plays some just insane rock and roll. It was a very specific sound that came from Zambia. Late 70s, early 80s. They did this insane psychedelic African rock that is different from anything you've ever heard. It's really, really, really cool. But this is a record I would recommend out of that genre. Just makes the cutoff into the 80s, 1980. This is, I guess you'd say, this is an obscure record. But if you watch my channel, you've seen this. I talk about it all the time. But check this out. And go. If you've never heard of Zamrock, go to Spotify, type in Zamrock, pick a playlist, listen to it. Here's a good one. Wipers. Youth of America. Really good post-punk record. This is really iconic. You've got stuff that you heard on the radio, and this is kind of a little bit underneath the surface. This influenced a lot of other bands, and it's just a really, really great record that I highly recommend if you have not heard the Wipers. Oh, man. Rocky Erickson and the Aliens, the evil one. So Rocky Erickson was part of a band called the 13th Floor Elevators. You can see them right there. See that eye, the psychedelic eye right there on my wall? That's the 13th Floor Elevators. I moved my camera just so you can see it. I normally have my videos more just the shelf. But 13th Floor Elevators, great band. 60s Texas psychedelic. But Rocky Erickson broke off and did a bunch of solo stuff and did a bunch of stuff with the Aliens. This record, The Evil One, I don't hear a lot of people talk about this, but it is really, really, really good. It's somewhere in between psychedelic and punk. It is fantastic. If you're adventurous and you like a weird record, this is a really weird record, but it's really good. It's got some weird themes. It's got some weird lyrics, but I freaking love it, man. Love it. All right, let's go with something that's not rock. What you say? Where's that record? Lakeside. Keep on moving straight ahead. Great record. All the Lakeside records are good. So, again, if you go into a record store and you see, like, funk records, you're going to see the Gap Band and, Kool and the Gang and stuff like that. There's a lot of those records that you see all the time. Lakeside records are really good. In our area, maybe in different areas it might be different, but you don't see a lot of them. Like, I don't hardly ever get these. Anytime I get this record, I put it on the turntable in the shop, and it sells before the record ends. It is really funky, really killer. Now, this is a major label, big-time release. If you're into funk, you know about this record probably. But if you're not into funk and you're trying to get into funk and all you know about is, Funkadelic or whatever, Lakeside's a really good record. This is a cheap record. You can get this for probably $10 or less. And it is one that I always, always, always recommend. It is absolutely fantastic. This is my favorite Lakeside record, but there's a few other ones that are really good as well. Check that out. Okay. The Melvins. Osma. The Melvins are a really cool band because they changed their sound a few times, and this was like one of the early doom, sludge, stoner type of influence records. They were one of the pioneers in the kind of stoner doom rock. And this is an absolutely amazing record if you like that type of thing. There's a lot of stuff like that now, like, Electric Wizard and, all the doom stoner, Dope Smoker, Sleep, all that stuff. This is the grandfather of that stuff. It is really great. Great guitar work, really heavy. I love Melvins, but Osma is definitely my favorite record by them. This is a different one a little bit. This is the Blue Nile, Hats. I don't know if you care, but the story of how I got this is really kind of interesting. There's a guy that I used to go buy records from, and from like when I was in my 20s, early 20s, and he lived a few hours away from me, and anytime I was going to be near him, I would go to his house and buy records. Every record was $5 each. And so I would go in and I could buy things that I didn't know what it was, but his taste was so good. It did not matter what you bought. When you got it home, you loved it. You know what I mean? And so I've been to his house 20 times probably with armloads of records, and I've about got it all. And a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I hadn't been to his house in a few years because I was like, I got everything I need from there. There's nothing left. But then you start to think, maybe there is something left. Maybe I didn't notice something. And then I went back. So I went back and I found a bunch of stuff that I'd, missed from a few years ago. You always learning. But this is one of those records, and I actually didn't even know what this was. And I was like, man, if he's got it, I'll take a gamble on it for $5. And this is a tremendous record. This was probably worth like $100 now. But it is what you call like ethereal. I think that Discogs calls it like ethereal new wave or whatever. But there's probably a couple songs on here you might have heard from like movies, commercials, and stuff like that. But this is one of those records. It's the label is actually by the audiophile company Linn, Linn. They had like an audiophile, the LP12 was a Linn turntable that's really iconic. They had a bunch of really good audio gear, but they also had a label that they would press like audiophile quality stuff, and this was on that label. Really good. Sit back, listen to it. It's just a feel-good record. Ethereal means it's like almost, it's not really quite ambient, but it's a feel-good, really good beats, really calming, really great stuff. The Blue Nile hats, check it out. It's a fantastic one. I love stories. I tell a lot of stories, sorry. Scratch Acid. A bunch of people in my 90s video was like, why didn't you include Scratch Acid? Because they're in the 80s. Scratch Acid, great stuff. It's like noise, post-punk type. And I actually did not know anything about Scratch Acid until I bought this collection from this Chris Whitson collection. If you've seen that video, I made a video about this really incredible collection that we bought from somebody who passed away. He passed away in 1992. He was 22 years old, and then his family just kept his records locked away in their basement for 30 years or whatever. And then they called me when they were ready to sell it, and it was like all this stuff was in a time capsule. It was really incredible. But that's a great video if you haven't seen it. I'll pin it in the comments for you so you can watch it, because a few of these will have this sticker, because when we got his collection, I made that sticker so everything that we sold in the shop would have that sticker on it so people would know where it came from. It's a cool story. But anyways, Scratch Acid, really good noise, post-punk type of stuff. That's a whole world, like the whole noise, post-punk stuff I've never really been into. But buying that collection, I've got a lot of really cool records that are in that realm. So I've been, over the past 6 months, 8 months since I bought that collection, whenever, I've been listening to it and enjoying it a lot. This Mortal Coil, Idling in Tears, really fantastic record. This is one of those I blind bought of this Mortal Coil record probably 12, 15 years ago and fell in love with it. It is that ethereal type of music as well. I think Discogs calls it goth, which I would not, so the traditional view of what a goth is. When I picture goth, I picture the mall goths, when you're in high school and you're at the mall, and then you got the goths that have the spiky hair and black lipstick and stuff like that. Maybe I didn't know what type of music they listened to. Maybe they were listening to this. I don't know. But this is a really good record that I feel like you would like no matter what you're into. This is a calming record. It's a little ambient at times. Like I said, ethereal is a really good way to describe it. If you were an old school mall goth, check it out. Simply Saucer Cyborgs Revisited. Listen, I cannot recommend this album enough. It is tremendous. I love psychedelic rock. I absolutely love it. This was recorded in 1974 and 1975. So this band recorded it then, and it was released in 89, I think. So some things were like that. They never got released when they got recorded. But this, I guess this is kind of cheating because it was released in the 80s, but recorded in the 70s. At any rate, it counts for my list, and it's fantastic. So Cyborgs Revisited, it's been reissued, but it's really like psychedelic space rock. It's almost like space rock. Some parts of it sound almost like punky, but mostly space rock. It is tip-top stuff. Speaking of space rock, this is a fantastic one. Outskirts of Infinity, Sings from the Dreams of Angels. Look at that cover, first of all. Doesn't that look killer? It is killer. So this is like, when I was listening to it right before I made this video, and I was trying to come up with a comparison. This is like if Jimi Hendrix was in Hawkwind in the 80s. Think about that. If you don't know Hawkwind, by the way, Hawkwind's great. It's like space rock. But this is psychedelic space rock. Incredible guitar work. And this is one of those that's cheap. It's like a $15, $20 record. This came out in 89, I believe. It is tops. If you don't know this record and you like Jimi Hendrix or spacey, far out, psychedelic fuzz, acid guitar solos, and madness, you will love this. This is a great record. It's been reissued, so you know the originals are cheap when you find them, but you don't really ever see them. This is the only original I've ever had. But I think I got this for like $20. It's a really, really, really great record. $20 record that sounds like it would be a few $100 at least. Randy and the Goats, On the Lamb. This is really good. Discogs calls it Glam, which when I hear this, it almost sounds like Velvet Underground to me. So really cool record. You don't ever hear much about it. My friends over at Ride and Easy Records are reissuing it. And last time I checked, I think they have some original sealed copies on their website. So just keep that in mind if you're into records. But this is a great record. And then another one that they're reissuing, which I'm not doing this to advertise for them or anything like that. It just so happens that they're reissuing some great stuff. This Mad Jack record, if you like Southern rock, this is a Southern rock, great record. Really good guitar stuff. Look at these guys. Look how much they probably know how to party. That's what the record sounds like. It sounds like Leonard Skinner, but a little bit more raw. It's fantastic. This is a cool copy. I found this in a garage a couple months ago. But it's got a band fully autographed on the back. But yeah, it's really good Southern rock. And again, my friends over at Ride and Easy, they're reissuing this pretty soon. This is a killer Southern rock record. Getting close to the end, guys. This is Opal, Happy Nightmare Baby. This is another one from that Chris Whitson collection. In the 90s video, I talked about Mazzy Star. Great band. A lot of people know it. But Opal is Hope Sandoval, the lead singer of Mazzy Star. This is before Mazzy Star. So really good stuff. If you like Mazzy Star, listen to this. It's a little bit more heavy and raw. But man, I love Opal. I was listening to this yesterday, and it's just an absolute fantastic record that a lot of people don't know about. Last one, Corrosion of Conformity. Really, Eye for an Eye. Great record. There's another one from that Chris Whitson collection. Really good, heavy, kind of hardcore. I know some of their other albums, their later albums, I think are a little bit more well-known, but this is one that you don't really see very much, and it's super heavy, really killer. If you're into heavy stuff, you might already know this. If you want to get into heavy stuff, this is one to check out. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave me a comment. Again, this is not a definitive list. This is just some that I picked out that I thought you guys might need to know about. But comment below some of your favorite 80s underrated records, and we'll talk about it. I love connecting with you guys in the comment section. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to this channel. We'll see you guys soon.